With you, Ron, if I may. He was one of a kind in a way, David Saunders, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was a truly fantastic friend to me and my partner. And over the last 5 or 6 years, I must have to say this, that Barbara and the Maddock family have been fantastic to David, and they've looked after him over this last period, which has been critical. And the Manx Concert Brass Band, they've been special. I mean, over the last couple of days of David's life, they came up and played fantastic. He loved marching, and they played marching, so it's just been really nice for him over the last few days.
A family member said to me at the weekend that his fiancée Barbara had never been so happy as in recent years. They were a pretty, I think it's fair to say, a pretty formidable team, weren't they?
They were. We went, just a little story, we went on a narrowboat holiday. And I'll tell you, we've never, ever laughed as much over that week. In fact, how we steered the boat, I'll never know. Because he one little story is to moor for lunch, he jumped off the bow. And it was so wet, his feet dug in, and he was a big man, and he just looked like a roly-poly bear going down this bank, and he came up all mud and that, and laughing. It was just hysterical, genuinely.
Yeah. Well, that larger-than-life character that he had, Richard Sir Miles, was that part of the appeal, if you like?
Yes, it was, James. I played golf with David for many years, and I think the golf sometimes was incidental to the humour, because he always had a joke, he always had an anecdote. He never really took his golf seriously, but he enjoyed the company and the friendship of people who played golf with, and we enjoyed his company and his friendship. He was a good bloke, and you knew where you were. You knew you were going to have a fun morning.
You knew where you were. You also knew of him, whether you knew him or not, because he had a pretty distinguished, high-profile career in the island, didn't he?
Yes, he did. I mean, I can't remember not knowing David Saunders, and I guess it's something we'll all have to get used to. He's been part of my life, certainly for the last, more than 50 years. And I was thinking, my wife used to work in the Alabama Bank in 1960 or 1961, and David was on junior desk in those days. And he loved the bank, and he became a very good banking manager and relationship manager. He looked after our business at Bell Abbey for as long as he was present in the South, and he was one of those who would don his wellies and come and see what his overdraft had been spent on. Always personally interested in what was going on, and part of the community here in the Isle of Man.
How did you meet?
I met him basically when I first came to the island in the late 80s, and obviously in the finance sector. And we all knew each other. Although we worked for competitor banks, we'd go to a lot of functions together, like Institute of Bankers dinner, Law Society dinner. We all knew each other, and I think I got to know David then, just through those sort of relationships, which then developed later on into Rotary, which we're all involved in.
You mentioned the golf there. I mean, in terms of, it was golf, it was football. He was very passionate about his St George's, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
He was, actually. St George's was his life and blood, actually. When I retired from Ballackinnish Nurseries, I bought this machine from New Zealand that decompacts and aerates, and he insisted I'd get this football pitch as good as it'll ever get. And
it was, wasn't it?
I hope so. But no, he was a real true Manxman. A little story with him. Went into his kitchen this day to pick him up, and Manx Radio had the Manx National Anthem on, whatever was playing, and there he is, stood to attention and saluting. Whoa. So we had to keep quiet when we walked in until it was finished.
In terms of banking, he rose to prominence. As you say, he was a junior clerk, but I mean, he went on to have a very distinguished career, didn't he?
Yes, he did. I've often said that the Isle of Man was the first to adopt the protocol of know your customer, and David did exactly that. He knew his customers well. He always recognised them, and again, just thinking about Walker Brothers and our 50 years of banking with the Isle of Man Bank. Most people get a sort of engraved crystal vase or something for 50 years business relationship. David appeared at Bellabby one day with an engraved milk bottle, commemorating the relationship between the Isle of Man Bank and Walker Brothers Limited, and that sort of typifies him somehow. He used to get quite irritated getting letters from the Isle of Man Bank which were posted in Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was that sort of think local that I think David was known for.
And that was, sadly, that's gone in so many aspects of society today, but he retained that until the very end, didn't he?
Oh, certainly he did. Certainly did. And I suppose he was in banking during the interesting times where bank managers made decisions and all of that, and the computer didn't tell people what to do. It was down to David's business skills and relationships, and I think that a lot of people on this island who started their own businesses in very small ways have David Saunders to be thankful for.
Thoughts, obviously, with Barbara, Emma, Nicholas, the wider family. Just tell me, to all of you really, starting with Ron, if I may, how will you best remember him?
His sense of humour and the friendship that he could give you, basically.
Yes, same again. A sense of humour, a good friend, always could be relied on. Golf games, as I said earlier, were tremendous. The golf was incidental.
I guess it's his love of life and always feeling better after having been in his company for a while.